All right, guys, that wonderful time of the year. It is holiday season, and that means fishing gear, etc. I want to talk today about a bait that was all the rage about 5 or 6 years ago. Still sells quite well to those that are devoted to it, but you just don't hear it about it as much anymore. And that is the Borbeleta, the Tantan, and the Lele. Everybody kind of calls them Leles. It's been a bait that I've used quite a bit. It's been a bait that my son has been tried and true. He's been very devoted to it. So let's find a little bit about the history of this, and we're going to hear from our guy right here, Mike Butler at Anglers Anonymous, specifically about this lure because I know it intrigues a lot of people. All right, Mike. So here we go.
Yes,
so
sir.
let's look at these first.
Okay.
Explain what we're looking at, because these are baits that some people are quite familiar with and some not so much at all.
Yeah, these are baits that are made in Brazil. They were originally designed for peacock bass fishing in the Amazon. A couple of folks went down there fishing for peacock bass, and the owner of the company met them and gave them some of these baits to try, and they saw them and thought, man, this would be great for trout, be a great trout bait. Basically, the Lele, what it does, it's a floating lure, but when you're working it, it sinks, it goes down. It's got a nice wiggle to it, it's got a rattle in it. Got an awesome action to it. If you stop it, it'll slowly come back to the surface.
Yeah.
Since that point, they've come up with the Lele S, which is more of a sinking, suspending bait. It's I would compare it to something along the lines of a corky, the way it works. It starts at the top, you work it down, it's going to suspend and hold depth pretty well. The Tantan is basically the same bait, just in a bigger profile. So yeah, these things, they were all the rage in 2017. I want to say the first order we got was 150 baits sold out in 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And you know, this is one of those things, like you look back in time, something in red and white. Red and white doesn't sell much anymore, but believe me, it still catches fish. It's one of my favorites. So,
yeah, it's a great bait.
Yeah,
it's a great bait.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, I don't know, things go in waves, fads, etc. I still use this bait quite often. As I mentioned, my son uses it a lot. So what has been the arc, in terms of like why you're selling it? What are your thoughts on why maybe it's still selling? Don't get me wrong. And by the way, this is an unpaid endorsement. I just think I know a lot of people are interested in the Borbeleta Lele and the Tantan. What do you think? It's just a fad that people have gone on and tried other things, but this is a hell of a bait.
Yeah, no, and that's what happens. There's always, the color of the hour, the flavor of the month, if you will. And this bait was the flavor of the year for a while. It went for a bit. Still works great.
Yeah.
I know some guys, tournament fishermen, that were fishing down south, Mansfield, Baffin, things like that. They couldn't get bites on your normal fat boys and things of that nature, and they tied on the Lele, and it worked. Now, the opposite could be true on the next day. It might be the fat boys' day and not the Lele. But, there's some serious big trout guys that are using these baits and quietly.
And you can keep it above the grass line, especially down south.
Yeah, if you're using the standard Lele, like I said, you work it, it'll get down. Depending on how fast you work it, a foot to 18 inches, but it's going to slowly come back to the surface.
The faster you work it, the lower it can drop, but it does suspend.
Correct. The regular Lele will come back to the surface. The Lele S will suspend.
Yeah, this is the floating Lele right here.
Right.
These are the slow sinking, and those will sink slowly like a
slow.
corky.
Yeah, more like even like a corky floater. They have a real slow sink rate.
Same thing with the Tantan.
Correct.
Now you may notice that these are the colors that I've picked out. These are my favorite colors. So if you want to try it, you may want to do and some of these are a recommendation from you, like this one right here. And this one right here. It's a bait that, how would you, in pretty much any circumstance, whether you're upper coast, middle coast, or lower coast?
Exactly. Yeah, if you're fishing the surf, I lean towards more of the S series, the sinkers, to keep the bait down. But if you're fishing down south, you're fishing over grass, things like that, go with the standard Lele.
All right.
It'll only get down to about 18 inches and comes back up, and you're not going to get down into that heavy grass.
So now you know, the more you know. That is all about the Lele. Again, I'm not, a partner or spokesman or anything. I just know it's a bait that has been very, very intriguing. And you know what I'm going to be throwing in the next few weeks. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast as well. So shout out here to Anglers Anonymous. It's that wonderful time of the year. People want to buy fishing stuff.